Hi, I'm Elliot and welcome to my van conversion, where I'm taking this Ford Transit Custom L2H2 van and turning it into a tiny home on wheels. I'm doing everything from cleaning the van out and laying the floor, to wiring my own electrics with a fan and solar panels, and even my own upholstery. So let's go back 3 months to where it started. Been indoors, had some lunch, rain stopped, sun's come out a little bit, although I'm kind of parked in the worst place possible to get any of the sun. However, we're now equipped with dustpan and brush, big broom, and a bucket of soapy water and a sponge, and we're going to give this a proper clean out. Right, just had a little stop and chat with my mum, but going in now with a bit of a firmer brush because a lot of this stuff is quite ingrained, so I'm now pushing it up into the top corner where I could be able to dustpan and brush. Get it out. And as stupid as it's going to make me look, it's always best, especially if you don't know what the contents of the van is, to use a dust mask. Now, since some of this stuff is a little bit hard to come off, we're adopting the wire brush, just especially in these thinner bits where it's harder to get a brush. As you can see in these areas, it's all pretty good, ready just for a bit of a wash, but bits here, super sticky and muddy still, so I've kind of got this little portion here to do, and as I said, I'm going to leave that back half of the easier stuff to do tomorrow, because I need to go to work in a couple of hours, so I'm just going to try and get this bit done, see how I get on with the hot soapy water, and then leave it there for today. I'm going to drizzle it. Right, so it's been a couple of days since I last filmed in the van, but a little bit of progress has been made. I've been quite busy, I've been at work and I've been at the pub and kind of things like that. But yesterday, me and my mum spent a few hours in here scrubbing, getting all this kind of gunky stuff up. I went in with the chisel and got all the kind of dried paint off the bottom. That was a long, tedious process, but had to be done. So that's now done, so I'm going to go in this morning, finish any little bits that I missed, and then we can properly scrub it up, get it nice and clean, ready for flooring, insulation, that kind of thing. Now, this is definitely one of those jobs that I thought would take a few hours on an afternoon, would be done and dusted straight away, and I could move on to all the flooring, etc. But, you know, as with these things, you kind of have to expect the unexpected. Was no way of knowing that there's going to be so much dirt and dried paint and stuff underneath that ply, so one of those things, but it's got to be done, so I'm just going to keep working through it. Right, just had a little break, had a little snack, and now I'm going to sprinkle the van with washing up liquid and washing powder, and then go in with the scrub and the hot water. Right, so I'm going to start at the top end of the van, because the van is parked on an angle, so all the water will flood to the back and drip out the back of the van. So if I start up here and work my way backwards, it'll be the most efficient way. Go in with the hose and rinse off as much of the leftover grime as I can. Right, so for the most part, that's actually come up really, really nicely. You can actually see the white van that it's meant to be. There's obviously still some target areas where, you know, it needs some detailing, some proper attention. Still needs to do this wheel arch, and all like the sides and the walls and stuff. But I'm very, very happy with where that's got to, because that only took me like half an hour to do, so very, very happy. Right, so it's day 4 of the van build and it's time for a bit of an update. So for the last couple of days, what I've been doing is focusing on the rust, or well, there isn't actually any rust because it's only a few years old, this van, but rust protection. Super important because you don't want any of those problems incurring down the line. So what I've been doing is where all the ply lining has been screwed in, there's been holes in the bottom of the van, so I've gone over them with a file to get rid of any kind of lifted levels of metal, and then I've also sanded them down to a base layer of metal just so I have a nice flat surface where I've been painting on some red oxide, which is the anti-rust paint. Red oxide's gone in, I've done 2 coats, so I did 1 coat, left it overnight, did another little coat over the top just to make sure I didn't miss any patches. So that is now in, and for the keen-eyed viewers amongst you, you might have noticed there's some timber in the van now. So I've gone for some pressure treated timber from Wicks, which prevents any kind of rot or fungus build-up on the wood. So today the plan is to get as much timber cut as possible into the grid and start sticking some of it down and getting ready to put the insulation boards in between. So you'll now be able to see the grid system that I've started laying out. So those cross struts, as I said, are now 400mm apart, and I've just cut lots of little beams 400mm long, and they're just slotting in between on top of those grooves. And I'm going to fill out the rest of the van before I start gluing anything down. So there is now actually some strip wood underneath our main pressure treated timber, and the reason for that is because a lot of the timber is resting on these kind of raised sections of the van. Some of them didn't have those raised sections underneath them in our grid system. So what we've done is place some of this 10mm strip just to kind of keep it at the same level as these raised bits that the other bits are sitting on, just so we have a full level system. So we've gone through, we've done that all around the van, and then we should be ready to start gluing those bits down, and then we can get our insulation in. But first order of business today is actually to get this foil insulation around our wheel arches, because that needs to go on before we can start gluing any of these kind of bits down around it. Now before I can actually get into the edges of these wheel arches, I need to take this wood off, and what I've done is, you might be able to see from my dodgy handwriting there, I've labelled them, so that's 1B. So my intention with this is to take a measure of the whole way around like this, and then what I'll do is I'll stick that down and then cut strips out of the top half to be able to follow the curve. You'll see what I'll do. Get these top bits secured, and then I can start worrying about cutting off all these flappy bits. So what I'm going to do is, as best as I can with this central kind of plateau on top of the wheel arch, I'm going to cut a strip to be level on that. So that is in there now, nice and flush to the curve of the wheel arch. There you go, so as you can see, that's one wheel arch nicely done. Do the same on the other side, and then we'll get our wood back in, and that's job done. So we're just using this Stixel crystal clear adhesive. and we've cut just the tip of it on an angle there, and that's going to go in here like that. So the wheel arches are insulated and all of the wood is finally glued down, so that probably needs about 24 hours to dry, and then we can get our insulation board in tomorrow and our ply lining. Right, we're back in the van today, and as you can see the ply lining is done, all cut, placed in nicely. So today's job is to secure that ply lining down. So I'm using these 30mm-ish screws which are going to go through the ply lining and into the timber, but not deep enough to actually hit the bottom of the van. And I'm going to go around, drill pilot holes. I've measured out where I need to put my holes. It's going to be going so that I'm going into the cross beams obviously rather than going into the insulation. And yeah, going to go through, drill the pilot holes for all of them, and then get the countersink in to make room for the tops of the screws. And then yeah, I'll be able to put these in and the ply will be nice and secure.